Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler, out in California for a Thursday episode. Ziggy, I was looking at the camera when we started. I'm not sure if you were making faces, but we try every now and then. I remember that we need to do faces for the thumbnail because it can get a little, for anyone who's working in production or podcast production, when you're trying to find faces for the thumbnail, usually it's pretty easy and you just go through and you find a face or two that looks good and you pick that. But sometimes you just have an episode where, your smile's fine, but your eyes are wild or the reverse. And it's just a real pain in the ass. So usually we try and do a quick, thumbnail, but we put out clips before. It's really funny when, when we're just making faces at the camera, no one's talking. So that, maybe we'll put out with Ziggy and I just had a horrible test.
It was one of the worst sessions we've ever done.
It was really bad. It was really bad. Something weird that I do, Ziggy, and again, anyone who works in production, I'm curious if you do this as well. I don't know how many people really there are that work in podcast production, but when I'm trying to find Nick's face or, in the past, Jason Tim for Colin Coward, whoever it is that I was making the thumbnail for, I have this weird thing where as I'm looking for the face, I start making the kind of face that I want them.
You're trying to manifest it?
I know it's weird. Like
I'm smiling.
Like every now and then I'll be looking for a photo of Nick looking upset, right? He just ripped Christian Pulisic and I'm looking for the thumbnail. By the way, if anyone's mad about any Nick Wright clips, like I'm the guy who titles it. So you can be mad at me, not Nick. But as I'm looking for angry Nick, I'm like, kind of furrowing my eyebrows as I'm searching through different pictures. And then if it's a smiling, happy Nick Wright, I'm like all cheery looking for this. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? That's one of those serial killer characteristics that people have. But I guess that's just part of the process for me. So if anyone can relate, please let me know. We have an awesome episode. Go ahead, Zig. You want to say something?
Before we get going, I got to give a quick shout out to longtime viewer Magic Harp, who gave me the first bit of Minnesota Vikings gear I've ever gotten in my entire life with this water bottle. So shout out Magic Harp. Thanks.
That's fantastic. Wait, can you show that one more time? I'll make it full screen.
We're going to do a whole little model. It's a great water bottle.
That is really cool. Are those stickers?
Yeah. Well, they're not actually stickers. They're like decals that have been printed onto the bottle.
Wow, that is really cool.
Yeah, I showed up to his house and he's like, "Well, I know it was tough last year, but you should get something good out of it. So here you go." I don't know why they're selling these in Northern California. Proof the Minnesota Vikings do have fans in other parts of the country. That you got this in Northern California at some random store.
That's fantastic, Ziggy. We actually have a handful of things. Once again, I just got the couch. As you can see, I got the new setup behind me here, which we'll continue working on over the course of the next few weeks and months, I guess. But now that I'm starting to get my bearings, there's been a handful of people who have sent us some really nice gifts. We just got customized hoodies of ourselves, Ziggy. Someone made a cutout of our heads, our silhouettes of our heads. We got to get those on camera. We had, I think it was fan locks. We had the dreadlocks sent to us. I still haven't put that on. Team Wisconsin in the Special Olympics. I believe they did really well. We have some merch that we want to put on for them. So there's a lot of things that we got to do over the next month here before you head out. But yeah, we really appreciate everyone who's sending things over. Again, I guess good time for a call out. If you're enjoying the show, please remember to subscribe to our channel as we're chasing down 30,000 subscribers, hopefully by the start of the regular season. Should be a really fun episode today. I'm really, really excited for the top 10 storylines that Ziggy and I have in the NFC. We'll do AFC next week, heading into the 2026 season. We're going to do it kind of the way we do joint power rankings, 10-1. We leave anything out, we'll go back and hit it because this is sort of like an NFC preview-ish in the sense. But then later on, ESPN put out their top ranked edge rushers. We'll take a look at that list. And Ziggy has a guessing game for me, which I have not seen yet. So really looking forward to seeing what Ziggy's cooking up to try to embarrass me on the show. But should be a good time. Ziggy, I know before that you wanted to talk a little World Cup, right?
It was. We have heard a lot about. We have to talk about Team USA, especially after I predicted an 8-0 blowout of Belgium. And in fact, it was about as close to the opposite as could realistically happen at the World Cup. And Paul, you talked about this when you were talking about Nick. Like, there's been a lot of criticism of Team USA in general and Christian Pulisic in particular. And I don't know what you think about this, but it seems to me, I know people are upset and it's fair that they're upset, but I think a lot of people are reacting fairly enough, really poorly to a bad game. But I think we're missing sight of the fact this was the best World Cup that Team USA has had in a long time. And if your goal is like win the thing, 8 countries have won the World Cup since it started. It is not something that happens every 4 years that any old team can walk up and win. And I think as time goes on, people are going to feel better about this performance as the sting of the Belgium game and a couple unfortunate comments leave. So I think a lot of the criticism that Team USA I understand where it's coming from, but I think people are being too harsh on this team.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a moment to hit this because I do think it's an interesting topic and obviously a relevant one. We were all hoping for a Belgium win going into the round.
We were
16.
what? Excuse
you.
I'm
sorry. We were all hoping for a U.S. win over Belgium going into the round of 16.
Well, I don't know. You're rooting for freaking England, so what do I know?
I'm English, man. I realized that we haven't been on since that loss. One thing real quick before we get into your two topics, Ziggy, because I'd like to take a two-pronged approach to what you said. It was really surprising to me how optimistic people were about facing Belgium. I can't remember if I said it on the podcast, but a Belgium team that, while we haven't played them many times, the U.S. hasn't beaten since 1930.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas had us as like only slight dogs. There was a lot of optimism.
We were favorites in a lot of markets. I think internationally, maybe it switched to Belgium at the end, but we were favorites going into this match at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. I think once the red card suspension got lifted, the odds shifted back to the U.S. You're right.
Yeah, and a lot of the public-facing media figures came out, and you saw people saying, "Hey, this is a great draw for the U.S." Senegal was a really good team. It could have been Egypt, who, as we saw, put a scare into Argentina the other day. But this Belgium team is struggling, and this is the team we want. We did just lose to them in a friendly. I know some guys were out, but it was 5-2. It was 5-1 until we scored really late. They just kicked our ass. They beat us 12 years ago with a lot of the same core of that team there, albeit a long time. But Belgium has kind of owned the U.S. in soccer for a long time. So it just surprised me that after seeing them have that sort of a finish against Senegal, kind of finding their stride, right? Late in the game, but finding their stride. I just, nothing, it didn't sit right with me. I still thought we were going to win the game, but clearly in hindsight, that was foolish. And within the first 10 minutes of the game, you could see we were just completely outclassed. But I want to look at what you said in two different ways, right? There's criticism toward the United States men's national team, and then there's criticism toward Christian Pulisic. Let's start with the U.S. team. I think it's completely justified to be really upset with what happened against Belgium here. Now, I agree with what you said, and this is what Nick has said a few times too. I've listened to Nick say this 10 different times. The World Cup has been awesome for America, for soccer in America. As far as the U.S. national team goes, though, the whole goal was to be able to win this round. This is the round of 16 is the round that they haven't been able to get out of time and time again. We've done it one time in our history in 2002 when we played Mexico. We didn't even play one of the real heavy hitters, played a team we were very comfortable and familiar with. The goal is to get closer to these European and South American teams so that we could, you're right, we're not going to win the World Cup right now, but we want to feel like we're getting closer. And I'm sorry, I'm not counting the round of 32 win as a real knockout win. I know it will be as time goes on and they continue to do it, but you saw Mexico and the U.S. celebrating their first knockout wins in a long time. Well, that's because we added around and because we played Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sorry. So I think you can be upset because we just got blasted in the round that the whole goal of this tournament was for us to show up in this game and to at least put up a fight, right? Mexico put up a fight against England. Canada put up a fight before, who were they playing?
Morocco.
Canada put up a fight before Morocco kind of put them away later in the game. We just got our ass kicked and had one of the most embarrassing moments, if not the most embarrassing moment of the entire tournament, allowing the third goal to Belgium. So I'm pretty bummed out in that. I was excited. I was drinking the Kool-Aid maybe a little too much, but they didn't go out where you're saying, all right, like that team felt different. I don't know if it was the most successful. Yeah, they looked really good in the opening rounds against the crap teams, but when push came to shove, we looked like the same old US. And if not, we were more embarrassing than we've been in this round in a long time.
Well, I don't think you can completely discount Team USA dominating the group stage against some decent teams.
No, you shouldn't. You're right.
I understand that's been forgotten, but winning the first two very handily and wrapping up the group just a couple games in certainly means something. But I also think you're right that the standard is, can you beat these elite European teams? And you can throw in like Brazil and Argentina in there, though Brazil seems to be falling off a cliff. The big difference between the United States and those countries is that in those countries, when you're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, the best soccer clubs will give their parents a job. Usually these kids are not from super wealthy families. They'll give them health care and they'll say, guess what? Your job now from 8 to 18 is full-time soccer player. Now, we'll have some classes for you, right? We'll meet the minimum government requirements for education. But when you grow up, your entire job will be soccer player. And I know people will say, well, that's sort of like the AAU basketball in the United States. That's sort of like travel culture when you've got soccer and baseball teams, but it's different. When you live where you go to school is all about being good at the sport. And I don't think that's a good system for the kids that are growing up in it. Like, I understand that for some kids, like you look at Messi, right? Why did he grow up in Spain? Well, the Real Madrid youth development team said, hey, you're really good. Or Barcelona, excuse me. Yeah, I don't know why I said Real Madrid. Your dad's got a kidney disease. He can't afford medical treatment. We're going to give him a job. We're going to give him medical treatment. You're going to come over here and play football. And, it's good that he was able to get that financial support for his family. But if he hadn't turned out to be a great football player, it's fortunate he did. But how many kids go through this? Their whole life is football. And then they don't turn out to ultimately be able to make it. And then you've lost your whole childhood. You never got an education. Like, this is the consequence of that sort of thing.
Well, and it's interesting. It's interesting hearing you say that because so many people react so differently, right? When that argument's brought up, they say, well, this is why America can't compete, because America's not training their kids essentially to become soccer players.
And it's easy to go sour grapes and say, well, Belgium exploits children and we're better than them. If we won, I'd be like, yeah, USA, we're so great. But you do have to think about the cost of that too when you're evaluating these systems.
Yeah, but that's just not something that's going to happen here. Like, we're not going to do that. We'll never do that. And forget about whether or not you agree with it morally. I can't see that happening in my lifetime. I think the U.S. will continue to get good and better at soccer. I know that's the takeaway after every World Cup, but we're a nation of 370 million people. At some point, you have to think that we'll have a generation where you could put 11 guys on the field. I don't know how. I saw some people saying, how is Tim Ream? How do we not have one better defender in the country than Tim Ream that you could throw out there? Kind of makes sense, right? We're a pretty big country. You'd think someone out there.
I don't know. India's never played in the World Cup, and they're 3 times as big as us. So
well, India, they don't really have their shit together.
They got incredible cricket players, man.
Sure.
But I think this is when it's good to revisit the fact that only 8 countries. It's been 1930, right? It's been 96 years the World Cup has gone on. Maybe a new team will win this year, so we'll call it 92. 8 countries have won. Right? This is not something that most countries are able to do. And it doesn't surprise me that the U.S. isn't one of the, say, top 8 or 9 countries in soccer any more than it surprises me that we're number 1 in the world at hockey and basketball and football and all of these other sports that we just dominate every year. You can't be good at absolutely every sport.
What is I was seeing, I don't want to get, well, after this, we'll go to Pulisic and then the top 10 stories, but I was listening to someone today. Someone called in. My uncle sent me a clip. He was saying we should try and join the South American football confederation or whatever it is to start playing those teams more. That feels like that would be a good move. I don't know if we could do that, but playing against Argentina and Brazil and Colombia, playing those teams more often than we are playing against these the little islands that we kind of crush. I'm sorry that I don't have the league off the top of my head, but
are you thinking of CONMEBOL?
Maybe that's it. But yeah, someone who knows soccer better, We don't need to get into it because I don't know.
Yeah, like there's a few different South American federations. My guess is like Argentina and Brazil and Ecuador and Paraguay probably are not super eager to play games against the United States because they probably think, boy, we'd rather like play teams we care about and are good.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it seems to me, I know this is a disappointing result, but I think the coaching situation for the U.S. men's national team is better than it's been for a while.
Yeah.
There were a lot of disastrous coaches. And I think the next step from there, as you say, is playing more teams, trying to find a way to get our guys out there, and trusting that hopefully in 4, 8, 12, 16 years, we'll get to see some of the benefits of hosting a World Cup in your country.
The second part of that, and we'll keep it a little quick here because I know most people want to hear American football. As far as Pulisic goes, I don't necessarily like getting on him too much as far as like, his capabilities, because there's a few things I was reading trying to get both sides of this argument. It seems like I don't watch a ton of his club soccer. But it seems like if you ask most people who pay attention to international soccer, that Christian Pulisic is a good player, not a great player. Maybe he has some great flashes. But to consider him, the savior of American soccer is placing too big of expectations on him. And when he performs short of that, it's kind of cheap of us to build him up and break him down when really, he's just he's a solid player. He's a very good American player. With that said, though, I have no problem with calling out the mentality that he's had toward all of this, right? Resting in the Gold Cup. And, I know that he got kicked a few times in this World Cup and had an injury, but he missed games. And the way he talks after the game saying, I got a lot of time to rest now. Carly Lloyd, Landon Donovan, Lexi Lawless, all the American soccer stars have come out and sort of trashed him. And I kind of get that because this was supposed to be his moment. He was supposed to be the leader of the team. That's what it was built up to be, at least. And clearly, he doesn't have the killer instinct that you really need to go on this sort of run when we're hosting the World Cup.
But the "I have time to rest" quote is just blatantly taken out of context. Someone asked him about how he felt going out while being injured. And he said it's frustrating to end like that, namely being injured, but now I have time to rest, so hopefully it'll be okay. He's clearly talking about being hurt and resting his injury. They asked him a couple minutes later, how do you feel about the World Cup? And almost in tears, he's like, I never wanted it to end. I'm so disappointed that I wasn't able to be out there. It's really difficult for me. It's a terrible way to finish. And people are like, he was talking about being hurt and resting his injury. That's what he was talking about there.
Sure.
And I get people are upset about him sitting out the Gold Cup, and I get that feels a little bit ridiculous now. I think missing the World Cup games, being hurt, like that happens, but I don't see the mentality thing the way some other people do. Tell me why.
I know it just unless things start coming out that he's has a much worse injury, which is possible, right? I don't want to rule that out, and I don't really like calling out guys' toughness or anything like that. But you just think, man, this is the World Cup. We're hosting it, man. I have to imagine a lot of dudes, right? Think of Clint Dempsey, right? The way he played right before Pulisic got subbed out when Belgium scored that third goal when he was limping around out there. And I guess, right, if you can't play, get out of the game. But it just felt like with the way he's been historically and the Gold Cup and then, the injuries in this World Cup, it was just like, all right, like, just get out of the game, man. He wasn't even playing well before that. You're supposed to be the guy. He didn't score a goal in this World Cup. He hasn't scored. He's barely scored for us this year. It's like,
hold on now. Because now it seems like there's a double standard. When he tries to play through injury, it's just get out of the game. And when he says, I wasn't playing because I need to rest my leg, it's why don't you care? Why aren't you out there? Like, which one is it?
What I'd rather have him do is tough it out, go out there and play and stop limping around.
Well, yeah,
as opposed to like,
him not be hurt.
Yeah, yes, I know, but I'm saying, can you imagine guys like Kobe Bryant in the NBA Finals coming out because he hurt his pinky? We just saw Jalen Brunson was playing with a broken wrist the entire NBA Finals. Like in those moments, you'd think drag him out of the game. Like there's no shot in hell that I should be leaving this game. And with Pulisic, again, if he's really hurt, like there's nothing you can really do about it. It just when it adds up over time with having a bunch of these injury moments where it's like, okay, like he sort of seems hurt, and does he want to be there? Like, does he really want to play? Like, I don't know. It seems like he's much more interested in preserving himself for international or for his club team and that season than the U.S. men's national teams at times.
Yeah, I mean, I'll set the injury stuff aside because I don't know about it. Here's what is true. There was a time where being decent and showing up and trying a little bit meant that you could be a hero of the U.S. men's national team. I think it's good that it's not like that anymore, and people expect you to really perform. And I think it's easy to forget, like a lot of great players really struggled for their national teams historically. This is actually a really weird year, and that
I mean, even Messi was right. Remember Messi used to get huge criticism from the Argentinian fans. Argentine,
yeah, it's tough, but the standards in the United States have gone up, and you're right that what Pulisic did on the field is not nearly good enough, and his reputation is going to be hurt probably forever because he wasn't able to show up.
Unless if he delivers in 4 years from now. And
I mean, look, if he delivers in 4 years from now, he's going to be Messi, right? Nobody's ever going to remember that Messi was bad on the. I don't mean at the same level, but what I mean is he will be remembered as a national hero who showed up when it mattered most. You're always a joker until you're not.
It's just disappointing where after all the hype and build up for this World Cup, especially in our country, to have the guy who's supposed to be our best player, one, not play a lot of it, and then two, when he was on the field, kind of just be bad, right? I mean, he turned it over more than anyone on the field in the first half of the Belgium game before getting hurt. Like that's where people have a problem. And I again, I don't want to be the guy killing him because I sympathize. I tend to be a little more empathetic towards people. Like I genuinely felt bad, like putting out the reels from What's Right, just crushing Pulisic, because I'm sure he feels bad enough, but I don't know. I think the combination of how he played and the way it went down just didn't really bode well for a guy who already seems to. What I was reading, it sounds like a lot of people say Pulisic seems like a great dude. A lot of it is his team too. The team and his family and the people around him rub people the wrong way. So just the way everything went down just doesn't go well for his brand. Hopefully it changes though, because he seems like a nice guy. He really seems like a nice guy, and I hope it could work out.
He really only has one more chance, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, and he'll be out of his prime in all likelihood at 31. But you never know. So with that said, we'll move on from football to football here. The NFC has a lot of fun storylines heading into the 2026 season. I'd say, oh man, I don't know. The NFL's so good, man. I was just thinking through some AFC ones off the top of my head. I'm like, man, all right.
It's hard to have only 10. You'd think, 10, that's more than half the teams. But we're going to leave some out.
This fan too. I don't know if people can hear it, but just in case. Okay. Fan off. Let's do this. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go 10-1, the top storylines in the NFC heading into the 2026 season. We'll start with Ziggy. We're going to do 10-1 based on how we view them, right? Is what's the biggest story? But we'll go back and we'll hit any of them that kind of escape. So Ziggy, why don't you start off? Number 10, the number 10 storyline.
For me, at number 10, it is the post-Mike Evans Buccaneers offense. We're seeing a lot of chatter this offseason about it. Baker Mayfield wants a big extension. The Bucs don't want to give it to him. Mike Evans has been Mr. Tampa Bay basically for 12 years. Now he's off in San Francisco. And Emeka Egbuka, Paul, you know this, had an incredibly hot start to the season and then disappointed a lot of people by getting hurt and not being able to finish out the way he wanted to. Yeah, I mean, how many people were saying, I just won my fantasy football championship after those first couple of weeks? And then down the stretch.
I was.
Yeah, down the stretch for those that huge loss streak for the Bucs, he was sort of the face of things aren't working the way we want them to. Baker Mayfield has missed his number one target in Tampa Bay now. We've seen this offense really struggle with Mike Evans out. Chris Godwin will be back, but with all of the injuries, you don't know what it's going to be. There's a lot of pressure on this Bucs team in a very winnable division to reestablish themselves after a pretty disappointing year. I'm really looking forward to see what they can get done with this new look offense.
Yeah, I think that's a fair number 10. The Bucs didn't make my list, but Mike Evans, when he was part of that offense, I mean, it revolved around him, right? His entire career there. We know he has the record, right, for the most consecutive seasons. I think, was it 10 or 11 with 1,000 yards in a row? And
I mean, he got Johnny
gone,
Manziel drafted.
Yeah. No, he's unbelievable. And we'll see. Maybe the 49ers make an appearance here. But I'm totally with you, Ziggy. How Baker's going to play this year? The Bucs have won that division 4 years in a row. Every year that Baker's been there, until last season, right, with the Panthers sneaking it. You look at how Tampa ended last year, losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of their final 9 games. And we started last season, Baker Mayfield was an MVP candidate going into week 9. And it just
almost
completely fell apart. And yeah, just completely fell apart. I'm looking at like the highs in receiving yards. That's when you had Ibuka. Ibuka had 163 yards against us in Seattle. Remember that Seattle win they had last minute? They were unbelievable. And it came crashing down in ways I don't think any of us expected to see. It's a good storyline to pay attention to. I still don't think the Bucs are a Super Bowl contender, but if Baker can get back to form, we'll see what happens because he's got a contract coming up, right? The contract decision.
Yeah, and the Bucs are not offering him what he wants. He's in danger of leaving to the Minnesota Vikings.
No, I like that take you had in the group chat the other day. Like, there's a realistic world where we could see Baker as a Viking quarterback or just moving on from Tampa next year. But no, I mean he's playing for something, right? Beyond what the Bucs can do. So the pressure's on, and it's really we need some of those receivers, or Tampa needs some of those receivers to step up because they're losing their alpha guy.
You know, it's funny with the Buccaneers. In each of their last 3 seasons, they've had within the same season a win streak of 4 more games and a loss streak of 4 more games. Actually, it might have only been 3 last year. I think they won 5 of their first 6 and lost to Philly. But like this team has been so streaky in the Baker Mayfield era. They win a bunch of games and then lose a bunch of games over and over and over again. Last year, the order was flipped, so it feels different. But it feels like this is a team that's just begging for a little consistency. Like, it's actually crazy if you go back and look at this.
So let's go on to number 9 here. At number 10, post Mike Evans Bucs offense. I'm going to say at number 9, maybe a little low for some people. Are Sam Darnold and the Seahawks a one-hit wonder, or is this team here to stay? I expect this team to be very good again. Sam Darnold, for as much praise as we're going to give him, and I'm not going to rip Sam Darnold apart here. There were times where he struggled last season, including in the Super Bowl. The Seattle defense is what propelled them to that championship, in addition, right, to an unbelievable NFC championship game from Sam. I'm not too worried about them picking up right where they left off. I think Mike Macdonald's one of the best coaches in football. Not worried about losing Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet being hurt. Jadarian Price is going to come in. I mean, he's a special player. We watched him for a long time. They'll be just fine at running back. But at number 9, will Seattle be able to carry on the momentum from last year? A defense that finished number 1 in scoring defense in the league, top 6 in yards per game. Can they repeat that performance? And if they don't, is Sam going to be good enough to make up that difference?
I like the Sam Darnold focus because Sam Darnold last year was an efficiency king. Like when he threw the ball, It was great. But as you said, there weren't a lot of games where they asked Sam Darnold to do a lot, because why would you when you have the best defense in the NFL and an offense that runs perfectly great when throwing the ball 20 or 25 times a game? So, yeah, that's, I think, the big question that everybody's going to have. And I don't really know what it's going to be. You know, the Seattle Seahawks will have a good defense next year, right? McDonald, everywhere he's gone, the defense has been good. I have no doubt that the talent in Seattle is going to show up. But it's very hard to have the number 1 defense multiple years in a row. This is why the Legion of Boom is remembered so well, right? It's one of the only times that's ever happened. So you're going to need a little more from the offense next year, most likely. Jackson Smith and Jigba is not going to sneak by anybody. Anyone that's preparing for the Seahawks is going to just have this guy circled as the guy to watch. Cooper Kupp isn't getting any younger. Sam Darnold's going to have to be better next year. And I don't say that, like you said, it's not that he was bad last year, but it's that you have to keep elevating things every single year if you want to keep winning in the NFL, because teams will catch up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be really competitive again. I don't expect them to repeat, but I definitely think they'll be a player. All right, Ziggy, take us to number 8.
If this were the media attention power rankings, this might be number one. But this is the how interesting is it to us power rankings. At 8, for me, it's what can John Harbaugh get done in year 1 with the New York Giants? This is going to be like, because it's the Giants, because it's Jackson Dart, because it's CTE immune Cam Scattaboo. Like, we're going to hear a lot about this Giants team, and for good reason, right? Malik Neighbors is coming back from injury. The defensive line is absolutely stacked. There's a lot of things that are exciting about this Giants team. And they placed a really big bet that the solution was to bring in John Harbaugh, who the Ravens had enough of. They said, we just can't win with you anymore. This relationship has run its course. We can't do your style of football anymore. And John Harbaugh, too, he's not one of these exciting young scheme guys, right? This is the guy who's coming in and saying, I've got the leadership ability. I've got the connection to make it work. And this Giants locker room has just been a mess for basically my whole life, right? Ever since Eli Manning won the 2011 Super Bowl, it's just been drama and controversy. They're really placing a big bet that dinosaur John Harbaugh is going to be the guy to come in and change it. And I actually believe he can be, right? I say that just because in the NFL, it feels like it's a young guy's league now. And at 63, him and Sean Payton are sort of the last representatives of that old era. But what he's going to be able to get done on a team that has a lot of talent and sort of bizarrely a lot of expectations is going to be exciting to watch.
This is fantastic, Ziggy, because we did not communicate at all on any of this. I just texted Ziggy this morning and I said top 10 NFC storylines, and that was like normally in a good process show, a well processed show, you would have, we'd go over our list, we'd go run through notes, just make sure like, okay, this is what's going to be, this is what we're leaving out.
But we want this to feel organic and natural.
Yes, I had at number 7. How big is the John Harbaugh lift for the Giants in year 1? So I'll tell you who I am flip flopping here in just a second. But I think it's a big question in the NFC. Some people think the Giants can win the NFC East, which I think is a little bullish. But we've seen John Harbaugh come in, and for an organization that's been one of the very worst, it's unbelievable to me, especially someone who's grown up and lived in New Jersey, the New York area for a long time. The Giants, even when they won their Super Bowls, they were always kind of a little iffy in those seasons, but they were still the New York Giants, right? The Jets are the laughingstock, and the Giants were the Giants. And for the past 7 years, 8 years, I mean, they've been embarrassing. And John Harbaugh finally comes in, and you have someone who feels like an adult in the room. Will that turn into a year 1 turnaround where like Ben Johnson and the Bears? I don't think so. But we do have to circle Jackson Dart.
They have the talent to do it.
Sure. But I mean, we have to circle Jackson Dart, and it's going to come down to, is he the guy? And yeah, there are so many questions around him, right? We don't even know if Neighbors will be back for week 1, like you were saying. I mean, he had a cleanup.
Well, they could just throw Odell out there.
Yes. Still, you have Odell, you have Slayton who's banged up, Scattaboo's coming back from injury. I mean, all those playmakers are coming back from pretty significant injuries. Is that going to be enough for them? And now they go offensive line in the draft, which is really good. Get them protected because we already know the injury history for Jackson Dart. But the Giants are one of those teams where if it does work out, and if Jackson Dart does take a little bit of a step up with Matt Nagy in year 1 here, as with him as the offensive coordinator, they're a team to pay attention to, because they do have talent at all the levels of their defense, and they have some big time playmakers. But they're one of those teams where a lot needs to go right for them to be a threat right now.
So, well, I'm glad that you mentioned the defense. Well, I'm more worried about the defense than the offense. You say they have talent all over, and it's true. Well, they were 28th in total defense last year, 26th in points allowed. I think the defense is the place to look and say, you guys have so much talent. You've got Brian Burns, who's a top edge rusher. Abdul Carter, Greg Newsome. There's a lot of players on this defense that could be good. You just drafted Arvell Reese, and they've gotten nothing out of it.
Well, Reese hasn't been. Yeah, I mean, Reese hasn't.
No, but I mean, so set Reese aside. Last year, we were saying, wow, this defense is a lot of talent. They could be really good. And they also got nothing out of it.
No, and that's something I do want to clarify, when I say they have playmakers at every level, I mean, like, there are guys that you look at and say, like, okay, like, that's someone you can build around for that level of the defense. They still have question marks around that, right? I mean, the Giants, we did the roster rankings the other day. They were 23 on that list for a reason. Like, there are holes there. What I'm saying is the Giants do have talented players, though.
Yeah.
This is not a roster devoid of talent like they've had in the past. They're building blocks.
And that's what makes adding a coach so exciting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to go to number 7 here. This was my number 8. So number 7 on our list, can the Cowboys, I said, get average play out of their defense, but can we see a bump up in the Cowboys defense? We know it's there with Dak and Pickens and Lamb, right? The offense, Javonte Williams was a revelation last year at running back. But in a year now where they bring in Christian Parker, young defensive coordinator, 34 years old, coming in from Philly, bringing him in from a rival. They go big this offseason, improving, right? Caleb Downs in the first round, the safety who's supposed to be this generational leader and building block for a defense. They trade up to get him. And you saw how excited they were when they drafted him. Malachi Lawrence, another first rounder, defensive end. They trade for Rashawn Gary. They bring in D. Winters, make a couple moves in the secondary too to join Deron Bland at cornerback. A lot of moving pieces, but a lot of moving pieces needed to be the offseason for them because their defense was, frankly, it let them down last season. So when you're bringing in all these new players, new guy, young guy, are they going to be able to turn that into a defense that can at least complement Dak Prescott in the offense enough and return them back to the playoffs? I think they're going to be a really good team this year.
I agree that the Cowboys will be good. And I think this defense is a really interesting mix of young, unproven players and old, not unproven, but I would say disappointing players. Like the Green Bay Packers are a team that desperately needs defensive line play, and they gave up Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary for basically nothing. Quinnen Williams is a player who I think looks a lot better on the stat sheet than he does on the field. I know the Jets gave him that huge contract for a reason, but he hasn't lived up to it. Like, this is just a very strange group of talent. And I don't necessarily blame them for turning Micah Parsons into these players and saying we're better off with them. But you're placing a really big bet, giving up one of the 5 best players, one of the 10 best players in the NFL, and saying we're going to take on a bunch of rejects and try and make it work. Now, as you say, like, that worked out outstanding with George Pickens, right? They said, we're going to take a guy the Pittsburgh Steelers have said they're done with, and we're going to turn him into a star. That was an A+ move last year. And I think the additions to the defensive line were too late in the year, and the season was kind of away from them. It's not, like, I don't think we can assess that yet. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think the NFC North is going to be a pretty competitive division, but I think NFC East, for my money, will be the most competitive division this year. And the Giants have shown up. The Cowboys have shown up. There's still 2 teams left there, in the Eagles and the Commanders, that can both work their way into the rest of this list. It's going to be super fun to see what goes on there next year.
The Caleb Downs edition, I'm really looking forward to watching him play next year, because all you heard throughout his entire time at Ohio State was, this guy's different. This guy's going to be a top 10 pick. And I think did he sneak into 10? Was he 10 or 11?
I thought he was 11.
It might have been 11, but people had him as the best player in the draft. It's kind of a Kyle Hamilton situation, and that's worked out quite nicely for the Ravens. We're starting to see. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just so hard to ask a rookie to come in and make that much of an impact.
No, it is, but I mean, this is what he's been built up to be. A guy that, is going to change your defense. And yeah, maybe in year 1, that's a lot to ask, but I expect him to do it. And we're starting to see the safety position be valued a little bit more, right? Kyle just got the big deal. Derwin James got the big deal. Kirby Joseph, big deal. We saw and we know how impactful the Lions safeties are. That might appear later on this list too. But yeah, the Cowboys have a lot of talent there. And if the defense can't raise their game, it's just going to feel like you're wasting you are wasting another year of Dak's probably fading prime here. So, all right, we got the Cowboys at 7. Ziggy, let's hear 6.
I hate putting this at 6 because I feel like it should be higher, but there's so many stories around the NFC that it just falls down to here. For me, number 6 is the 49ers and the medical tent. can this team stay healthy? Because if you look at the 49ers, they have 4 players who, as recently as a year or two ago, have been the absolute best in the NFL at their positions, or at least very close. Nick Bosa, unbelievable player. Trent Williams, unbelievable player. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. No one doubts that when these guys are healthy and on, they're at worst, absolute worst, top 3 players their position in football. They have a top 5 quarterback in Brock Purdy, who's leading the team. But when players have gotten hurt around him, okay, sorry, I had to sneak that.
Stop rage baiting.
Well, okay, I'm trying to Oromaki right now. I guess that's not working. Look, the 49ers roster it feels impossible to rank, especially in the NFC West, which is so competitive. Because just looking at the player names, and this isn't like they've gotten the Avengers from 2015. Like, they have so many players that could be incredible. Throw in Mike Evans, a player unbelievable, but coming off brutal injury.
Yeah.
This team could be so good if their players can get healthy. But there have been injury concerns for a while, and they're coming off a disappointing year. If the 49ers, if they've assembled, if like Mike Evans is the last gem in that Infinity Gauntlet, they really could be the best team in the NFL next year by a wide margin. But also, if their guys get hurt, they could finish behind the Cardinals. So I just have no idea what to make of this team. And we're going to learn a lot about him in the first few weeks.
Mike Evans, he feels like the perfect final Infinity Stone for their gauntlet, because he is, I mean, if you were to pick a handful of players, right, who are older now, immensely talented, and just really frustratingly injury prone, you got, at this point in his career, right, after last season, Mike Evans would fit the bill as someone who, when he's healthy, and I know he all the 1,000-yard seasons, when he's healthy, he's unbelievable. And if they can all come back, yeah, they can win the Super Bowl. I find it to be quite hopeful and optimistic if you're a Niners fan, to think with Kittle's coming back from an Achilles, right? Warner, ankle injury, Bosa, ACL. These are all season-ending injuries for these guys. And what a testament to Kyle Shanahan and to your guy, Brock Purdy, right? Going into Philadelphia and winning that game with essentially their third-string defense playing and a lot of backups on offense too. That was really impressive by Shanahan, by Purdy, McCaffrey. I mean, this team is good. I just think it's pretty bullish to think that it's all going to work out when it never does. But you're right. I had that at number 5. I actually had that a little higher on my list. And a big thing to circle too, Ziggy, how good will Christian McCaffrey be? Because you're seeing all the videos of him working out right now, and he's doing all the the free weight exercises. They need him to be elite, a top 3 running back in football. Because despite what you say about Brock Purdy, I do believe there are limitations there. And when McCaffrey is rolling, that offense is almost unstoppable, because Purdy is very good and the weapons traditionally have been awesome. So
when they Christian McCaffrey got the most touches of any skill position player in the league last year at 413. Is that going to be sustainable? We already know it's not.
Well, yeah, of all the guys, right, that we just listed off who were injured last season, McCaffrey wasn't really one of them, at least in the significant sense. Does that come back to play this year?
This is how fantasy football works, is if you're the number 1 pick, you just take Christian McCaffrey because he's going to get the volume. You just hope that he doesn't injure his ankle.
Yeah, and you're either going to go into the playoffs as the 1 seed, or you will be doing the punishment. That's the Christian McCaffrey life. Okay, so you had the 49ers here at 6. We entered the top 5 now. This is kind of cheating because I'm going to combine some teams here.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to say at number 5, this might even be low. No, I'm going to have this at 5. Will the Packers and Lions stars return from injury to help them break through the ceilings, right? And I think the ceiling applies a little more directly to the Packers, being that 7 seed, right, and losing in the wild card round year after year. But we've talked about this at length on our show, right? This is what most of you guys tune in to listen to, the NFC North. We know about Tucker Kraft, Micah Parsons. We can go on and on about the Green Bay injuries, but those were the 2 guys. I mean, they're the stars, right? They're the stars of the team, and without them, it's another testament to LaFleur and Love last year, being able to take a 21-3 lead into halftime against Chicago. But without them, it felt like the Packers had a ceiling. And unfortunately, it was a familiar spot for them. Well, fortunately for us, I guess, but unfortunately for most of you guys listening. How do these guys come back? Because Mike is expected to miss half the season. We said that Detroit game in week 7, I believe it was, is a good return date. Will he come back in top form? Because we know they're weak at edge without him. A lot of questions there, right? You need Jordan Love to stay healthy for a full season. But if they do stay healthy, and we'll start with the Packers. If they do stay healthy, there were times where Green Bay was the best team in football last year. And for all the Bears fans that I live around now, and then the rightfully earned jeering that they can throw in Packers fans' faces after beating them in the playoffs, there's a chance that Green Bay comes back and wins the division this season. And they can be dominant. But how are those guys going to return from injury? That's a major question mark for me.
Well, did you see the Notre Dame Shamrock Series jerseys for the Wisconsin game and how many nods there are to the Green Bay Packers?
I haven't looked at. I saw the text from our from Will Coots, our old buddy, who they're
wearing the like 1920s Acme Packers colors, like they're going all in. So Notre Dame is trying to bring some of the success over to Green Bay, is what I'm saying.
It's like the Paul Farrington show uniform, the Packers and Notre Dame. Did you know? I don't know if people know this who are listening. I bet we have a lot of Badgers fans out there. In that series, the Shamrock, the Notre Dame Wisconsin one, the first game was supposed to be 2020, 2021. COVID got in the way. And the first game wound up being played during the 21 season in Soldier Field. But Wisconsin was actually considered the host of that game. And the reason they did that is because we're playing in Lambeau Field to start week 1 this year, or week 0 maybe. But Curly Lambeau, right, went to Notre Dame. So they thought it would be cool if they made the Notre Dame home game in that series the Lambeau Field game, paying homage to Curly Lambeau's time at ND. I thought that was a really cool kind of twist that most people don't seem to know. But yeah, I will not be buying that jersey. Long story short, I have no desire to wear the Notre Dame Green Bay Packers jersey.
To return back to the NFC North, the thing about these teams that makes them different than the 49ers is these teams need more than just their stars returning back from injury. Obviously, we'll stay on the Packers and we'll turn to the Lions in a second. Like getting Micah Parsons back, getting Tucker Kraft back, getting the wide receivers healthy is huge. But both of these teams also need players to break out. It's like if the 49ers get their stars back from injury and they're 100%, they have everything they need to win a Super Bowl. But for both of these teams, getting the players back from injury is huge, but I'm not even sure that's the biggest story. Because look, like we know Micah Parsons is going to come back and be great. I firmly believe Tucker Kraft is going to come back and be very good. But like, if those guys are good for Green Bay, we saw what that can be last year. It's good. But even before they got hurt on that quality stretch, it didn't seem quite good enough to win a Super Bowl because there were also huge disappointments along that stretch too. The fully healthy Green Bay Packers had that Browns game. So I agree with you that injuries are a huge story, and I'm very interested to see what happens there. And I think it's a little more true for the Packers than the Lions, but on the Green Bay side of this story, they need a lot more than just their guys coming back and looking good.
Yeah, and what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs is another big thing. It's Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, that we just don't know. There's no way.
We don't know. But I mean, if they lose Josh Jacobs and you have Chris Brooks and Marshawn Lloyd replacing him, that's a big hit to the offense.
Marshawn Lloyd isn't replacing anyone. He's going to get injured in training camp.
It's horrible, Ziggy.
Look, any Packers fan knows this is true.
So that's one side of it. And then the other one, Detroit, right? We talked about this at length the other day, if you want to see when we reacted to Terry and Arnold getting released. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, arguably two of the 3 best players. A lot of people like Jack Campbell. But, 2 of the most important players on that Lions defense coming back from Achilles and knee injuries. We don't even know what's going to wind up happening with Kirby Joseph. He's already had some setbacks. Dan Campbell, his answer when he's asked, like, hey, how's Kirby looking? He's just, I don't know, which isn't encouraging for your, 3rd highest paid safety in the league.
Well, I'll tell you what that means. It means I know and I don't want to say. Dan Campbell knows how Kirby Joseph's doing, folks.
I'm not worried about the Detroit offense. I know that there's some concerns with the offensive line, right? You're moving Sewell around. You have a rookie at right tackle. replacing some guys in the interior, hoping other guys step up. I'm not worried about that. Offense has been phenomenal for years. Jared Goff has a firm control of it. They have some of the best playmakers in the league. That's nothing to worry about. I am worried about the defense, and I am worried about if those guys in the secondary can't come back, if the secondary can't be, salvaged after Arnold's gone. We said that could even wind up being a good thing for Detroit. The lack of a pass rush, someone needs to step up. Detroit's offense can take them so far. We've seen this in the past, right? They were 15-2 a few years ago when the entire defense was in the hospital, and they wound up getting blown out by the Commanders in the divisional round. They can get there again, especially with the fourth place schedule. I have no doubts that Detroit's going to be a playoff team this year. But the big problem is if they get there picking apart the bad teams in the league, which there's something to be said about that, right? Like good teams should beat bad teams. When you get to the playoffs and you're going to at some point, you have to imagine you're running into the Rams, right? You're going to run into, are the Eagles or Cowboys going to step up, right?
The 49ers
or Bears, 49ers. You're going to face, because one of those teams or two of those teams, right? You're expecting things to come together for. When you face that team that has a put together offense and superstars all over the place, if you're throwing out there a questionable Roger McCreary and Rock Yassin with who knows at safety and only Aiden Hutchinson up front, that's going to be a problem. And now you're in a shootout. And do you expect to win 3 or 4 shootouts en route to a Super Bowl? Probably not. So the Detroit defense, beyond coming back from injury, right? Some guys need to step up same way that Green Bay does. And if either of those teams do that, Super Bowl contenders immediately. Because they are, in my eyes, they both are right now.
I will say, though, I agree with you that the defense is a huge concern. It feels to me like people have completely forgotten about Sam Laporta and how good his first year was. Now, I know like herniated disc surgery is a real deal, and we don't know how healthy he's going to be. But like I'm seeing Lions podcasts coming out saying like the Lions should be looking at trading Sam Laporta. In his first 2 years, this guy is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And it feels to me, in the list of players who were really productive and were injured, he was on track to have a decent season last year, too. This guy's been completely forgotten about. And I don't really know why.
Whenever he played, his lack of, how many games did he play in last year?
I think he played 8 games and put up 500 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I believe I drafted him in a fantasy league last season, thinking I was getting, this. Yeah, it had to have been last year, right? Thinking I was getting this beast, and his lack of touchdown production pissed me off. So I'm not the guy to talk about Sam Laporta right now. All right, Ziggy, take us to 4.
At number 4, we're starting to run out of teams, and I can see why you're combining a lot of teams. What?
We're not running. We are no shot.
No. What I mean is we're running out of teams. The sense of there's more I want to put here than I actually. Running out of spots.
Okay, yeah.
Put in
Yeah. Fair
and
enough.
Unlike you, I'm not going to cheat and just like mash a bunch of teams together. Because that's not fair. Number 4, which keep in mind we're saying is one of the top storylines in the NFL. It's Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson.
Oh,
right. Yeah, sorry, you're not getting this easy one. And I know that you could put it higher. You could argue credibly that this is the number 1 story in the NFC. It's not for me, and I'm curious if you agree with me about what's number 1. But this is a big story. And the reason why is because it has a huge impact on the NFC, and it could really go either way. There were a lot of reasons, and we've seen this play out in our comments, to be optimistic about what you saw from the Bears last year. They won a playoff game. They went 11-6. Caleb Williams threw for 3,900 yards, a ton more touchdowns than interceptions, barely took any sacks. Like, he took a huge step forward in so many ways, and you can say that's going to continue happening, and the Bears are going to be even better this year. You can also say, well, he completed 58% of his passes. A whole bunch of those wins came in miraculous, historic comebacks. The defense relied on takeaways. Like, the Caleb Williams and the Bears offense, there's so much that could go right, but it's all speculative. We saw glimpses of it last year. You saw it. I know I keep talking about that Bears 49ers game, but that's where you saw what this could be if everything goes right. But it could also blow up in their face, and the Bears could go back to being the same old Bears. So I think this has to be one of the biggest stories for anyone following the NFL, because it could decide who goes to the Super Bowl, or it could decide a team totally missing the playoffs.
Ziggy, this is my number one story in the NFC.
I don't think it's number one, but I can see
this is
why
my number one. My number two story is probably the real number one, but I have a little pride. I'm letting personal bias sneak in there, and I do think it's a massive NFC story that a lot of our listeners probably aren't going to want to hear as they're Packers fans. But if Caleb takes that jump, the Bears are going to be a powerhouse in the NFC for a long time. And that like, I'm not sure there's any other team in the league that has the same level, that can reach that same level of powerhouse that the Bears can if Caleb takes that leap, right? I mean, the Packers are in there because I don't know, the Packers.
No, the Bears are different than every other team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep it NFC focused here. Like the Giants could take a leap, right, with Harbaugh. The Saints, we think, could take a leap maybe with Shuck in year 2 and Kellen Moore in year 2. But like the Bears were in the divisional round last year. The Bears won the NFC North last year. The Bears were a couple plays away from being in the NFC Championship, from hosting the NFC Championship. No, they would go to Seattle.
Yeah, but they could play.
Yeah. Oh no, to me, it's like with the leap they made last season, in year 1 of Ben Johnson. If they do what they did last season, I mean, they're going to be a problem for a really long time in a way that most other NFC teams can't make up that much ground, right? Like the Packers take a jump. We know the Packers are a good team. Lions get back to where they were. We know the Lions. Like the Bears, there's still a little bit of questions out there. They should be very good, but will the turnover regression, how will that impact the defense? Will the late game heroics? Usually you don't see that year after year. If it all gets ironed out, they're going to be really good for a really long time. And I'm hoping that's not the case, but I'm expecting it to be. So that was actually my number one story. We got it here at number 4. Let's go to number 3 now. People may be a little unhappy with this, but this is the Paul Farrington show. I'm going to put what happens with the Vikings quarterback situation here. It is a massive story, and for 2 reasons, right? One, what happens with JJ McCarthy? Do they wind up trading him assuming Kyler Murray wins the job? It's certainly possible they roll with Carson Wentz, their backup. Where does JJ McCarthy go? Probably won't have a big impact wherever he goes, but that's something to pay attention to. Dealing a number 10 overall pick in the draft going into his 3rd year that's a bad way for things to work out. But in the event that Kyler Murray wins the job, can Kevin O'Connell do with him what he's done with a lot of quarterbacks, right? He did it with Sam Darnold. We saw Kirk Cousins playing at his highest level before his Achilles injury. Saw Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins come in and have moments, right? Not that they were sustainable, but that's just who those guys kind of are. But they had moments where they were playing some of the best football of their career, more of Dobbs than Mullins. But can he do that with Kyler Murray and resurrect the career of a guy who's played at MVP level before? And if he does, now we're talking about a really talented team with a functional quarterback. And the Vikings are right back in contention in the NFC if that happens. It's a story a lot of people are ignoring. We're kind of being written off as the 4th team in the NFC. But if it works out, that's a team to watch out for.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you can tell this because in the odds, the Vikings are being given about the best chance any 4th place team is in the NFL. And as you say, there's one reason for that. It's not the defense. Obviously, the defense is good, but we had about as good a defense as you can have in the NFL last year and couldn't get the division done. It is the quarterback situation. And I think what helps me be excited about the Minnesota Vikings is that the quarterback situation just cannot be worse than last year. And I know this is like things you say moments before disaster, but truly,
it can't be worse.
we had worse quarterback play with JJ McCarthy than. Do I even say his name?
It can't be worse. Well, I don't know. I actually don't know which one you're going for. Like there's so many.
It was worse than Christian Ponder. Last year, the quarterback play was worse than the Christian Ponder era. It can't.
Christian Ponder
mathematically
still catching strays like 15 years later.
It is mathematically impossible to have worse quarterback play than negative passing yards. It can't be done. I guess we can go through -5 game yards in a game next year, but like that's it. So the
We've
quarterback
had some rough
situation,
times.
it will be better. And I know that having Grenard leave
It has
stinks,
to
but the
be.
defense will still be good.
If it's worse, Ziggy, I'm joining you. I'm gonna become a priest. I'll become a monk too next year.
Yeah, you know,
If it's worse, I'm out of here, man. This show will no longer exist at all. I know for a lot of people, they're like, I'm going with Ziggy. Well, you know what? I'll be going with Ziggy too if it gets worse next season for the Minnesota Vikings.
So the fact that it has to be better, and we were a decent team last year, you're right. It's impossible not to do the same thing we do every single year and get optimistic and excited about the Minnesota Vikings.
Dude,
Paul,
I'm
can
gonna
you just
have.
why do we do this? You know, I'm
I'm gonna
working
have.
right now. I'm putting together a syllabus on hope. What is hope? Is hope rational? Is hope something desirable? Are you ever obligated to have hope? And I think one of the days in class is just going to be putting Minnesota Vikings clips up for my students. You want to know what hope is? It's the Minneapolis Miracle into what comes next. You know what hope is? It's trading up for JJ McCarthy and letting Sam Darnold lead. Like it happens every year.
We are a masterclass on hope. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Zig, you know what's funny right now? I got the lights on here. It's gotten a lot darker here in Chicago since we started recording this. And by the way, are you good? I know we were supposed to get. Are you good to finish this list and then get out? Do you have time?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've got plenty of time, Paul. We can just put as much as you want.
Oh yeah. I forgot you said your schedule. Yeah, I'm sitting here now. It's gotten completely dark. I just have the lights on. I'm in a totally dark room, just screaming about the Minnesota Vikings.
And that's your life.
Me down in mid-July, in early July. Like I'm gonna forget during this season that I have neighbors now. Like in the past, it was just me and my house, but I have people like, thankfully behind me is the stairwell, but there are people like you can hear me right now if you were in the hallway. Like if someone were to find this building and find my room, they could listen to the full show right now. You got to think there's a chance there's some football fan who walked by who's just hearing me screaming, "Oh, if the Vikings quarterback situation is any worse, I'm just gonna lose it." Like, man, that guy is really he's going through something in there.
Okay.
So
on to number 2.
Vikings at 2 or Vikings at 3. Got our top 2 here. I think we've been really pretty much aligned, which I think is pretty impressive, Ziggy, because it's let alone just getting the stories matched up, but the order too. Let's see if we finish it off.
I'm going to trust you on number 1 here, and I think you're going to deliver. So I'm going to put my real number 2 at number 2 rather than my number 1. Since Jalen Hurts has come to Philadelphia and like been the starter, here have been these seasons. Lost wild card his first year, made the Super Bowl and lost the second year. Lost the wild card his third year, won the Super Bowl the fourth year. Lost in the wild card round his fifth year. So here's the question. In year 6, if the trend continues, they're going to the Super Bowl next year. But I have to tell you, Paul, it is getting harder and harder for me to see that continuing. Not just because making the Super Bowl is hard, and of course it's difficult to do. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles here, my question really is the Jalen Hurts era of success coming to an end? And that might sound apocalyptic, but we talked about this before the show. Jalen Hurts has not performed at the level Eagles fans have wanted for a while. The defense, they've got Jalen Carter on the defensive line, but every year you go to the Super Bowl, you're going to miss players. And I know Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell are great. Reek Woolen, they're hoping he can be good. But this defensive line has very little talent outside of Jalen Carter and Jonathan Grenard. The offensive line is getting old. How much longer can Lane Johnson actually hold it up? And Saquon, you can say, well, this guy was hurt last year and he was coming off a really great season. It was a lot of carries to ask. He didn't look like he did in 2023. AJ Brown is gone. You're hoping Mekhi Lemon can step up. This Eagles roster has more question marks than an Eagles roster has for a long time. The division, every single team around them should be better next year than last year. That's the question I have this Eagles team is the Jalen Hurts era going to end after next year? And that sounds dramatic, but it's really not when you actually look at what this team can do.
It's perfect number 2, Ziggy. Well, very well done. I think the defense, I think the Eagles defense is going to be okay next year. I really like the addition of Jonathan Grenard. I know he didn't have great numbers last season, but he was really close. And I know people don't want to hear that if you're Eagles fans, and Vikings fans are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But Jonathan Grenard had more near sacks than anyone you've ever seen last season. And, it's not a sack at the end of the day. And sometimes those plays turn into big plays for the opposing team. But, that's a talented Eagles defense. And if he gets home a few more times, we're talking about Jonathan Grenard a little differently. Vikings actually probably aren't trading him away.
I mean, Jonathan Grenard, here's what we can say. He was one of the best players on one of the best defenses in the NFL. He's good.
He was probably our best defensive player.
Yeah, it's between him and Van Ginkel, right?
Yeah, when he played. I mean, Redmond was really good, but no, Grenard was awesome. It's about the offense. You're right. It's about the offense. And they're bringing in Sean Mannion, who, while we doubt his quarterback skills, on this show, and we talked about the Sean Mannion game.
So you're complaining about me throwing, but we can bring up Sean Mannion, and that's fine.
Throwing jabs at Sean Mannion from a 2018 game or 2017 game against the Packers on the road. I mean, that's the worst I've ever seen a quarterback look. No offense, Sean Mannion.
No, it's not.
That was probably Brosmer. What do you want to name any game from the Vikings this year? They bring in Sean Mannion as the new offensive coordinator, right? He's replacing Kevin Patullo. The offense that Mannion runs, it's from the Shanahan, McVay, right? He was with LaFleur for a while. From that tree, a lot more under center stuff for Jalen Hurts, who's traditionally been against that. Now, Jalen Hurts says he's open to it. And apparently from all the reports, right, Jordan Mailata called him an evil genius. He said Sean's an evil genius. Some of the quotes they've had on Mannion are just, they're praising him a lot. But how is it going to look in Philly with A.J. Brown gone, overhauling the scheme? You bring in Mekhi Lemon, right? Dontavian Wicks. They've tried to replace A.J., but there's a reason that when A.J. Brown got there, they went to 2 Super Bowls. He's that good. We've seen so many quarterbacks, we saw Josh Allen take the leap when Stephon Diggs was introduced. The Patriots are hoping they get that with A.J. Brown right now. Who's another one I can't remember off the top of my head, Ziggy? Receiver comes in, quarterback plays great. I know there's
a lot of examples.
I know there are a lot more. I don't know why I can't remember it right now. But you're losing a weapon like that, and you're going through a new system. And we already talked about so often how the Philadelphia Inquirer was calling for Tanner McKee last year over Jalen Hurts. So if it doesn't work out, the Eagles have an out at the end of this season. And I can see a world where they're moving on from Jalen Hurts and they're firing Sirianni. That's very possible. Howie Roseman, the front office, is not afraid to cut ties with someone when they're no longer useful. So in many ways, I think Jalen Hurts is playing for his job this year. Is he going to rise to the occasion? It's one of the questions you have to ask, because if they turn it on, they were voted the number 2 roster in football. Talent all over the place. They can win the Super Bowl. That range of outcomes it's so broad, and it's so intriguing coming into the year.
Well, Paul, what's number 1? We all know what number 1 is. Take it home for us.
Why can't I remember quarterbacks who got a boost after a receiver came in? There's a couple more that are very obvious. Burrow and Chase maybe.
Jamar Chase was good anyway, but put it in the comments. How about that? Let's engagement bait here. Tell us what we're missing.
Yeah, there's some really obvious ones that we're forgetting.
What are you thinking of Tua and Tyreek?
Yeah, Tua did take a big jump with Tyreek. Yeah. I guess Allen and Diggs is the biggest one. Well, I guess Hurts and A.J. Brown was another one. But all right, yeah, the number 1 story. I think we're aligned here. Will the Rams super team actually be a super team? Are they just going to be unbeatable? It probably is the number 1 story. I said I had the Bears, but what the Rams have done this offseason, right? Swapping Jared Verse for Myles Garrett, getting the best defensive player in football. We've never had a reigning defensive player of the year and a reigning MVP on the same team, other than when Lawrence Taylor and Alan Page won both awards when they won. By the way, a little respect for Alan Page, guys. Vikings defensive tackle, all-time legend, Hall of Famer. Rarefied air.
Minnesota Supreme Court
Justice. What an impressive guy who flies under the radar when you talk about all-time NFL players. But yeah, we've never seen this before. And on top of Myles Garrett, right, which is as good an upgrade as you can make for any player in football. I mean, he's a complete game record, 23 sacks this year. What they did in the secondary, addressing probably the weakest part of their team and going out and trading for Trent McDuffie and then signing Jalen Watson as well. Trent McDuffie's going to get a lot of the headlines for what they did in the secondary. Jalen Watson's better than all the cornerbacks they had last year too. I mean, they made major upgrades for this defense. And the offense we know has all the star power and all the firepower in the world. Is there a chance that we just see the Rams this season light it up and are unbeatable, basically? I mean, it's on the table. And if Stafford stays healthy, they should be the Super Bowl favorite. They were very close last season to winning. I'm excited to watch it. I mean, they're going to be must-watch TV.
Yeah, and if Aaron Donald comes back, which they keep throwing it out there, they keep dangling it. Something, my inside source hasn't gotten back to me yet, but there is
what
do you think? It feels different. Like Aaron Donald the past few years has been like, oh yeah, maybe I'll come back. We'll see. I don't know. He's really contributing to it. I think that he wants to come back. And why wouldn't you when you get to play next to the best player in football in Myles Garrett? Like Aaron Donald was the GOAT, having very little help on the defensive line during his career. The best player next to him was probably Dante Fowler Jr., who is like a good player, but is not Myles Garrett. Like, yeah, the Rams took every position of weakness last year and turned it into a position of strength. Our defensive line is young, but needs some production. Okay, we'll get Myles Garrett. Our cornerback room is a little weak. Well, we'll just raid Kansas City.
Super Bowl winners, Super Bowl winning secondary.
Yeah, and like Stafford is still unbelievable. Kyron and Puka and Devontae are still unbelievable. I'd like to see them get another wide receiver, but I think that will come at some point.
This may predate Ziggy. I'm sorry, finish your.
No, go ahead.
This may predate some of your football viewing. So if you're not sure, that's all good. I'm trying to think of super teams during our lifetime, right? That the label super team has been thrown around. The biggest one that stands out to me is the Eagles from, I can't remember the year, the Michael Vick Eagles when they added Nnamdi Asomugha, the cornerback from the Raiders. That I clear as day remember people throwing around the term super team, and they flamed out, right? They did not come to fruition the way people were expecting.
I can tell you the last two super teams to add a bunch of talent at key positions and go on and win a Super Bowl. It was the 2020 Bucs, right? Adding Tom Brady, adding Gronk, adding Antonio Brown.
Okay, I guess that was a super team.
No, but here's really the super team. It's the 2021 Rams. You add Stafford, you add Von Miller, you make huge upgrades to a team that was already
done. But that wasn't a super team in this. Like, I mean, really, that you heard people using the term super team.
People were saying that in 2021 and 2020. Were they? When Von Miller got added, people were saying this is a super team.
It feels different here, but yeah, maybe the Rams were the case there.
But no,
49ers
right.
At times the 49ers have been called they've been called having the Avengers around Brock Purdy.
Yeah, but they didn't have the number one quarterback in football.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was kind of thinking is, the Eagles team with Michael Vick and, the 49ers Avengers.
Did anyone talk about the 2007 Patriots that way at the start of the season?
I don't think they were called a super team.
Because I'm wondering, Randy Moss joined you could have said that, but I got the sense that people thought Randy Moss was washed at that point.
He had struggled in Oakland. But yeah, I mean, the difference between some of these other teams that we've thrown around is that you have the reigning MVP at quarterback. So he stays healthy. It's hard not to think the Rams are going to be just dynamic. All right, so that's your list right there. We got 10-1. Post Mike Evans Bucs offense. What does it look like? Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, are they a one-hit wonder, or will they make another run at the Super Bowl? John Harbaugh and the Giants. What do they look like in year one? Will the Cowboys defense under Christian Parker, new defensive coordinator, help get Dak back to the playoffs? 49ers and their injuries, will they be able to overcome it? Will the Packers and Lions have guys returning from injuries? This is number 5. Will they have guys be able to come back and finally break through the ceilings that have limited them? 4, are Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and the Bears the next NFC powerhouse? 3, what happens with the Vikings quarterback battle? 2, Jalen Hurts is at the end of his run in Philadelphia after this season? And 1, are the Rams actually going to perform like a super team? Very interesting list. Do you have any ones you want to just throw out there?
The only thing I had in my top 10 that wasn't in this one was Tyler Shaw and the Saints. Can the Saints actually compete for the NFC South this year?
Yeah,
but that was like number 9. I don't feel bad about that being left out.
I think that would have been my number 11. And it's interesting, right? Adding ETN and Jordan Tyson, you hope Olave. Like, there's a chance the Saints are a solid team.
But nobody thinks the Saints are going to be great next year.
Yeah. And I think Bryce Young's an interesting one. What happens with him after his best season? Falcons quarterback battle's interesting, but not.
I don't care about Bryce Young because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think those are top 10 stories. What I actually did have at 10, because I had the Bucs a little bit lower. I had Jane Daniels at number 10.
Mm-hmm.
What does he return to the form he was his rookie season after an injury plagued year? That's an NFC contender that's kind of, fizzled out, you could say. Do they return to form? I'm very skeptical of what happens in Washington moving forward. But Jane Daniels, we were arguing, is he the 5th best quarterback in football at this time last year? So all the potential in the world. All right. Do you want to skip the edge rusher stuff?
We'll skip the edge rusher stuff. I'll just say this. ESPN put Aiden Hutchinson as the 5th best edge rusher in the NFL. Ridiculous. He's better than that.
All right. Let's close then. Micah Parsons was 2, right? What was the top 5? Garrett,
it was
Parsons.
Garrett, Parsons, Will Anderson, Max Crosby, Hutchinson. I'd move Hutchinson above Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby's washed.
I think 5 is just fine. I actually think you could even argue Daniil Hunter up in the top 5.
Okay, Vikings homer.
Love Daniil
He's
Hunter.
Been a Viking for years. You don't have to do this.
He's great. He's great. Okay, let's hear this. Let's hear this list that you have.
So originally, this was going to be the top 10 player royalty bringers in 2025, but I thought that was both impossible and very difficult to round out the list.
Yeah, was that like active players or just?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Number 1 was Shedeur Sanders, and number 2 was Travis Hunter. So you had no chance of getting this list.
Yeah, that would have been disaster.
Here's a list that's hard, but that I think you can get. That's similar enough. Top 10 jersey sellers in the NFL last year. Now, you have to keep in mind, this isn't necessarily the top 10 players, right? Guys sometimes move teams and fans want to buy the jersey. Some guys, like some teams matter more than others. But what do you think? If you had to guess right now, we'll go through this. The top 10 jersey sales in the NFL last year.
Give me 3 strikes.
3 strikes, yeah.
Okay. And maybe like 1 hint if I ask for it. I have 1 question.
Deal. You get 3 strikes and 1 hint.
Okay. I'll Josh Allen.
Number 1.
I'll put Dak.
Dak, believe it or not, did not make the list for the first time in years. I think the injuries and the jerseys adding up but that's strike 1.
Are these all active players?
Yes, they're all active, all played last year, etc.
Is Shedeur going to be in there? I think he is.
I'll help you out. Shedeur's not in there.
Okay. Let's go Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes was number 6.
Kelsey?
Travis Kelce was number 11.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
I'm going to spot you that one. That one was too close.
No. I got my back against the wall earlier. Oh, jeez. Okay, hold on. This could be really bad. Caleb
Williams was number 8.
Okay, got Caleb. Oh, boy.
You're missing some slam dunks here, Paul.
Yeah, no, I know I'm missing some slam dunks, but there are some ones that I want to. Well, Lamar. All right, Micah. Micah was what?
Micah Parsons was number 10.
Okay, Micah. Yeah, all right. Let's leave the Lamar out.
Here,
No.
This is one small hint. Players who were injured for a lot of last year, there's none of them on this list.
Okay. Other than, I guess, Micah, but
well, Micah played most of the season.
Yeah, no. I felt good about Micah being in. I actually thought Micah would be higher. Let's go. All right, here's what I want to know. How many quarterbacks are in here?
How many quarterbacks are left?
Yeah.
4 quarterbacks remain, and you've already guessed 3. So 7 of the 10 are quarterbacks.
Okay. 7 of the 10 are quarterbacks. I think Drake May is going to be in there.
Number 2.
Okay. Big Drake May here. So I got Allen at 1, May at 2, Mahomes 6. There's 3 quarterbacks left. Caleb and Micah. See if I can nail down the quarterbacks. Hurts could be in there. Could Baker or Darnold or you got to think there's some Rams in here, right? Like you got to think after an MVP season. But there's just no Rams fans. All right, I'm going to go. You said Dak was not in there, right?
Correct.
All right, so Hurts is in consideration. I'm going to have Baker in consideration. I don't think so. Darnold. Purdy?
Is that a guess?
Raise your eyebrows if that should not be a guess. Okay. He's not a guess.
Oh, you know the quarterback to guess here. Just throw the name out there.
Burrow? Oh, well, you said he was out all year, right?
Yeah, no players who were injured. Like you know who to guess here, Paul. You've said the name a bunch of times. Just throw it out there.
I said the name a bunch of times?
Yeah.
I have.
Come on, Paul. Bring this home, buddy.
This is a bad luck right here. Okay, then I'll go with Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is number 7. There you go.
Okay. All right, Hurts.
Interestingly, not even the top Philadelphia Eagles on this list.
Barkley.
Saquon is number 3.
I thought I seen a graphic where I was surprised how high Barkley was.
Saquon made bank last year.
Okay, wait. So what? There's 2 more quarterbacks?
We've got 2 quarterbacks and 1 offensive non-quarterback.
1 offensive non-quarterback. JSN could be in there. Could he be JSN? 1 offensive non-quarterback. No other tight ends, I don't think, would make the list. Could be another running back. All right, let's finish off the quarterbacks. Got Hurts. I'm gonna guess Stafford. He won the MVP.
3 strikes, you're out.
Fuck. All right,
but I said I was going to give you one of them back because Travis Kelce was 11, so we'll call you at 2.
Kyler Murray. Let's go. 2 more quarterbacks. Did I guess Herbert?
No, but I'll tell you, these are tricky. These ones are a little bit trickier. One of them we talk about a lot on this show, and I was surprised was higher than Micah Parsons.
One of them we talk a lot about on this show and was higher than Micah Parsons. Knicks?
I was trying to lead you to Jordan Love there.
Oh, Love is actually
Jordan Love is number 9. Yeah, I was very surprised to see him ahead of Micah Parsons.
All right, one more. Give me the conference.
NFC. Both remaining players are NFC.
Both remaining players are NFC. I'm really surprised. Well, wait, did I say Stafford already?
Yeah,
I think I did. Darnold?
It is not. I might have misled you on this one.
Baker?
I just forgot about this. Jaden Daniels is number 5, and he missed a lot of games last year. That's all. I misled you.
He missed the whole season.
I misled you. That's my bad.
So after having like 7 strikes, there's one more. Let's see if I could do this. 1 NFC offensive player left.
Not quarterback.
Who's in consideration? CeeDee Lamb is in consideration. He's the only one in the NFC East. Jefferson's in consideration, though I don't think he'll be the guy. No one in the NFC South. Puka and JSN. Oh, gosh. Kittle and McCaffrey, too. Is it one of those 6?
It's one of the players you just listed, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to eliminate Jefferson.
That's pretty smart.
Okay.
Every Vikings fan already owns a Jefferson jersey.
I am going to eliminate Puka.
Not a bad idea, I have to say. If Stafford's not making it, Puka's not making it.
4 left here. I'm going to eliminate Kittle. So far, so good.
I mean, look,
Three more
tearing your
left.
Achilles makes it tough.
3 more left. He tore it late. So we have McCaffrey, CD, and J. It has to be JSN.
JSN comes in at number 4.
All right. Not great.
I'll say I was surprised by this list. So to run down, we had Parsons at 10, Jordan Love at 9, Caleb at 8, Jalen Hurts at 7, Mahomes at 6, Jaden Daniels 5, JSN 4, Saquon 3, Drake May 2, and Josh Allen 1. I was shocked Jaden Daniels was that high, honestly.
What? Well, I guess coming into the year, all the Commanders fans were hyped up.
I just would have thought you would have bought it already. But I guess, he came back. He's better.
Okay, wait. So I'm writing down what were the strikes that I had. Oh God, jeez, I had a lot of strikes.
Kittle, or no, you didn't guess Kittle. You had Stafford. You had Travis Kelce.
I had Kelce. I had Stafford.
I can tell you where these guys come in if you want.
I had 7. Yeah, I'm seeing 7 here. Misses. Okay, I'd like to hear it. So Herbert.
Justin Herbert was.
That was a bad guess. That was a bad guess.
I'm pulling up the list for 2026. You got to give me 1 second here.
They don't.
I only had the ones I wrote
down. They don't have a lot of fans. Period. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's Justin Herbert came in at 32.
Yeah,
below Shedeur Sanders, Max Crosby, and Pat Surtain.
Oh, I guess Shedeur. Where was Shedeur?
Shedeur was, if he came in just below Shedeur was 28.
Okay.
Right there with Baker Mayfield, who you also guessed.
20, and he was 27 or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Bad guesses.
You guessed Bo Nix, who was 12.
Wait, did I guess Baker?
You did I thought you guessed Baker. Oh, maybe threw it out there and I took pity on you. You guessed Joe Burrow, who was 26.
Oh, God. I had Burrow too. Jeez. Burrow was 26.
Some of these are names you threw out and then backed off on. I'm just remembering names.
Bo was 12. Where's Purdy?
Brock Purdy was 18.
Darnold
was 49.
Jeez.
Sam Darnold gets no respect. I think Seahawks fans are just expecting him to leave at some point.
Kelce was
the
11?
gap between, yeah.
And where was Dak?
Dak was not on the list.
Not on the
list.
Which
is shocking. He didn't make the top 50.
What? Okay, so my guesses were all horrible. So that was terrible.
The Cowboys were weird last year. CeeDee Lamb was 21. Usually you expect the Cowboys to really be up there. I think fans are just checked out.
Well, I was all over Josh Allen. I was all over number 1. I was all over Micah.
Yeah, the Micah making the top 10 was also a big surprise to me. 2 Packers in the top 10 was a shock.
Yeah. Given the show's history, Love was a pretty big whiff. But all right, we'll wrap it up there. Disappointing list. Bad performance there.
You'll get there.
All right, we'll be back next week. That's pretty fun. Let's do it for the AFC next week. Next week we'll have the AFC, and then we're gonna be. Geez, I guess we'll be mid-July at that point. We'll have to figure out what we'll do for the Wednesday show. But all right, that was a good time, Ziggy. I'm pretty surprised at how in sync our list was there. But I guess you've been doing podcasts together for 7 years. You start to think kind of similarly.
Well, and look, we certainly missed something. If we missed something big, let us know in the comments what we screwed up on. Though if you're an hour 20 into this video, you probably already have.
All right, we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Paul Farrington Show.